A young fox is caught in a steel snare. Every time it struggles, the wire tightens. Its heart races. Its breathing becomes shallow. Then it hears footsteps. A human is coming. The fox doesn't know the stranger is carrying wire cutters. It doesn't know the trap is about to disappear. It only knows one thing. Something bigger than itself is getting closer. And in the wild, that almost never ends well. So why do some trapped animals suddenly stop fighting? Why does a whale hold perfectly still while divers cut ropes from its body? Why does a wolf stop lunging only moments before it's released? Do wild animals actually know when a human is trying to help them? Or are we mistaking something much simpler for understanding? The answer begins long before the rescue itself. It begins with fear. For a wild animal, being trapped is one of the most dangerous situations imaginable. Escape is survival. Losing the ability to escape tells the brain something terrifying. Death may already be here. Within seconds, stress hormones flood the body. Adrenaline rises. The heart beats faster. Muscles tighten. Vision narrows. Every system prepares for one final attempt to survive. Researchers studying deer, antelope, and other hoofed mammals have found that animals caught in fences or nets often experience extreme physiological stress, sometimes even greater than animals suffering serious injuries. Their bodies behave as if every second could be their last. This explains why rescue attempts often look violent. Birds slam into nets. Foxes bite rescuers. Deer throw themselves against wire fences. People often call these reactions aggression. Biologists see something different. The animal isn't attacking. It's trying to survive. Because from its perspective, the approaching human is simply the next threat. Evolution has taught wild animals an uncomplicated rule. Large creatures that move toward you usually mean danger. For millions of years, that rule has worked remarkably well. Predators approach. Predators capture. Predators kill. But humans sometimes do something no predator ever does. We remove the trap. That creates a problem for the animal's brain. Modern neuroscience suggests that brains constantly predict what will happen next. Every movement, every sound, every approach. The brain compares reality with expectation. Usually, those predictions are correct. But occasionally, reality breaks the pattern. Imagine expecting pain, only to feel pressure disappear. Imagine expecting capture, only to become freer with every passing second. For a trapped animal, this is an event evolution never prepared it for. Instead of tightening the rope, the human cuts it. Instead of grabbing the animal, the human reaches for the trap. Instead of causing injury, the human removes it. Suddenly, the brain's prediction begins to fail. And when predictions fail, behavior changes. Wildlife rehabilitators describe a moment they have seen countless times. An animal struggling with everything it has suddenly becomes still. Not exhausted. Watching, almost as if it is trying to understand why reality no longer matches instinct. Scientists call this a prediction error. The expected attack never arrives. The nervous system pauses. Not because fear disappears, but because it no longer knows which response fits the situation. Perhaps the most famous example happened in 2005 off the coast of California. A female humpback whale became tangled in heavy fishing gear. Ropes wrapped around her mouth, her fins, her tail. She could barely stay above the surface. A rescue team entered the water carrying knives. Under normal circumstances, approaching a frightened 50-ton whale would be extremely dangerous. One movement of her tail could have killed a diver instantly. Instead, the whale became almost completely still. For over an hour, divers worked around her body, cutting away rope after rope. Several rescuers later reported that the whale appeared to shift her body, giving them easier access to sections they couldn't reach. Scientists remain cautious about interpreting that behavior. Large whales constantly adjust their position in water. Those movements may have been coincidence. Or They may not have been. What researchers can say with confidence is simpler. The whale stopped behaving like an animal expecting an attack. And whales are not the only ones. Field biologists working with wolves have described restrained animals that suddenly stop snapping once calm, predictable handling begins. Sea turtles tangled in discarded fishing nets sometimes become motionless while volunteers remove plastic wrapped around their flippers. Young elephants rescued from muddy watering holes have been observed remaining near rescuers for several moments after gaining their freedom. Every case is different. Every species is different. Yet the pattern appears often enough to raise an uncomfortable possibility. Wild animals may be responding to something more than instinct alone. But does that mean they understand help? That question is far more difficult. Humans naturally think about intentions. We know the difference between someone pushing us and someone catching us before we fall. The action may look similar. The intention is completely different. Scientists have spent years asking whether other animals make similar distinctions. Domestic dogs provide one of the strongest clues. In controlled experiments, dogs respond differently when a human refuses to give them food compared with when the human wants to help but physically cannot. The dogs appear to recognize the difference between unwillingness and inability. That suggests at least some animals pay attention not only to actions but to intentions. Whether wild animals make the same judgment remains uncertain. Highly intelligent species like elephants, dolphins, great apes, and some birds possess extraordinary memories and sophisticated social intelligence. They recognize individuals, remember past encounters, learn from experience. Some even teach that knowledge to others. If a wild elephant can remember which villages are dangerous, could it also remember the people who once saved its life? Science cannot answer that. Not yet. And this is where researchers become extremely careful. Words like gratitude, kindness, or friendship sound convincing. But they describe emotions. Emotions exist inside the mind. Science can measure heart rate, hormones, brain activity, behavior. It cannot directly measure another creature's subjective experience. That is why most biologists avoid claiming an animal felt thankful. Not because they believe it didn't, but because honest science refuses to say more than the evidence allows. Perhaps the better question isn't whether animals understand our kindness. Perhaps it's whether they notice when the world suddenly stops making sense. Every instinct tells a trapped animal that an approaching human means greater danger. Then the opposite happens. The wire falls away. The pressure disappears. Freedom returns. Whether the animal understands the intention behind that moment or simply recognizes that the danger never arrived may remain one of the hardest questions in animal cognition. Because every rescue ends the same way. The human walks home carrying a story. The animal disappears back into the wild. Science can follow its tracks, measure its hormones, study its behavior. But it cannot follow the one place where the real answer exists. The animal's own mind. And perhaps that's why this question continues to fascinate us. Not because we want animals to thank us, but because, for one brief moment, the creature that feared us more than anything else on Earth trusted us enough to stop fighting.